34 years old. Senior advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea. Specialization, conflict negotiations. Participation in 13 international missions. 3 times he had pulled situations out that were officially considered dead ends. He had never been married. He had no cat. There were no flowers at home. But he did have a diplomatic passport with 48 stamps. And a head that never switched off. He was thinking about negotiations with the North Korean delegation even when the taxi flew into the intersection. His last thought was, damn, I didn't finish reading their position on the 3rd point. Then darkness. Then light. Then a scream. His own. But not his voice. The first thing he understood was that a baby was screaming. The second was that this baby was himself. The third was that this was very inconvenient. Kim Jae-han lay in the foreign body of someone else's newborn and screamed not because he was scared but because the lungs opened by themselves and the body did what it had to do. Instincts. Now this is badly timed. Above him was a woman's face. Young. Exhausted. Happy. Tears. Dark hair, tanned skin, green eyes. An unfamiliar woman was holding him. Saying something. The language was unfamiliar. Not Korean. Not English. Not one of the 6 languages he knew. A new language. A new world. This was not Earth. The small brain shut down. The body fell asleep. The adult mind began to analyze. The name Chiron. That was what his mother called him. Mother Ira. A maid in the Lord's household. A smart, quiet, careful woman who never said anything unnecessary. A good model, the mind of the adult diplomat in the body of a child assessed. Learn. The father was officially unknown. Unofficially known as one of the younger sons of the master of the house. Who, after the child was born, suddenly married another woman and left for the capital. Classic. They lived modestly. A room by the kitchen. Simple food. But his mother read. She took books from the Lord's library. Read aloud to little Chiron. It was a gift. He learned the language in a year. Not like a child, methodically. The adult mind analyzed grammar, memorized words systematically, searched for roots. By the age of 2 he spoke better than children twice his age. His mother sometimes looked at him with slight fear and great love at the same time. She felt that something was not right. But she loved him. By the age of 5 he read on his own. By 7 he had read everything in the Lord's library that he could reach. He absorbed the history of the world greedily. The world was called Ertan. Several large states. Magic exists, rare. Technology was roughly medieval level. Iron, horses, castles, feudal system. The country in which he was born was the Kingdom of Aaron. Medium in size. It borders 3 states, the Valgar Empire to the north, aggressive, expansionist. The Tsar Republic to the east, trading, rich. The Drak Mountain Union to the west, closed, warlike. Aaron is squeezed between 3 powers and balances. A diplomatic nightmare. Or an ideal arena. At 10 years old, the master of the house, old Count Morin, noticed the boy. Not out of kindness of heart, by chance. The Count was receiving guests. Important ones. Jae-han, already Chiron in his head too by then, also happened to be in the corridor by accident. He heard a conversation. A guest, a merchant from Tsar. He spoke in the Tsarian dialect. Quickly. Thinking no one in an Iranian house would understand. Chiron understood. He had learned Tsarian from books half a year earlier. The guest was telling his partner that the price he named to the Count was doubled. And that the Count was a fool who did not know the market. Chiron, 10 years old, entered the room. Said in Tsarian, merchant, the real price for Felton grain this season is 18 silver per cull. You named the Count 32. If you do not want trouble, I advise you to reconsider the offer right now. Silence. The Count looked at the boy. The merchant looked at the boy. The merchant said 20 silver. The Count looked at Chiron for a long time after the guest left. Are you Ira's son? Yes, my lord. How many languages do you know? Arenian, Tessarian, Valgorian, I read the Drac dialect, I speak it worse. And one more that no one here knows. Which one? The dead trade language of the old empire. There was one book in the library. The count looked for a long time again. Your mother is a maid. Yes. That is a problem, the count said. But not an unsolvable one. A month later Chiron became a pupil of the Lord's house. Officially. With wages for his mother. With access to the large library. Count Morin was a practical man. Smart boys with languages are not left in the kitchen. He studied for 7 years. History. Law. Rhetoric. Etiquette. Horseback riding without much desire but necessary. Fencing with interest. Arithmetic and trade affairs. He added 3 more languages. 8 in total. His rhetoric tutor was old Les San. Dry, sarcastic, demanding. A former royal advisor. Retired after some story at court that he did not tell. In the 3rd year of study he called Chiron aside after the lesson. Looked at him for a long time. You are not just a smart boy, he said. No, Chiron agreed. You think like a negotiator. Not like a scholar, not like a merchant, exactly like a negotiator. Where does that come from? Chiron thought for a second. Probably by nature. Les San looked at him. You are lying. Yes, Chiron agreed. But I do not have a better version of the truth. Les San smiled for the first time in 3 years. Slightly. Good, he said. Then I will tell you something I do not tell anyone. He sat down. Was silent for a long time. In negotiations there are 3 levels, he finally said. The first is what is said. The second is what is meant. The third is what is never said, and it is exactly that which is the most important. Most people hear the first level. Good negotiators hear the second. You hear the third. I saw it in every lesson. And what does that mean? It means that you are dangerous, Les San said simply. To everyone. Including those you serve. And that is exactly why you are valuable. At 17, Count Morin introduced him at court. The capital, Archon. A large city. A castle on a hill. King Theodore III, 50 years old, tired, with intelligent eyes under heavy eyelids. Chiron stood at the audience and thought, fatigue is not weakness. This is a man who has seen a lot and learned not to show a reaction. Smart. Careful. Good. It is more interesting to work with such people. The king asked 3 questions. Ordinary representative questions, name, origin, what he had done. Chiron answered. On the 4th question the king deviated from protocol. Count Morin says you know Valgorian. Yes, your majesty. The ambassador of Valgor said something interesting to his aide last week. In my presence. In Valgorian. He thought no one would understand. What do you know about Valgorian negotiation traditions? So that is how it is. Straight to business. Chiron answered. In detail. 3 minutes. The features of Valgorian etiquette, taboo topics, what pauses mean in their culture, what specific phrases mean which sound neutral in Arenian but carry hidden meaning in Valgorian. The king listened. When Chiron finished, he was silent. Then he turned to the advisor. That is exactly what the ambassador meant, he said. Word for word. Looked at Chiron. How old are you? 17, your majesty. Tomorrow you will come to the western wing. Ask for advisor Ren. Say that the king ordered it. The audience ended. Count Morin walked beside him down the corridor. Silent. Then quietly, I thought to introduce you. Show you. Maybe a place on the small council in a few years. Yes, Chiron said. You just became a royal diplomat at 17. It seems so, yes. The count shook his head. I underestimated you. You assessed me correctly, Chiron said. The situation simply came together. Although honestly, he had helped the situation come together a little. The count did not notice. The king noticed. Jaehan saw that in his eyes. They would understand each other. The Western Wing. Advisor Ren. 55. Bald. Short gray beard. Sharp, restless eyes. He looked at Chiron like a problem that needed to be solved, not like a person. Good. That means a pragmatist. Pragmatists are easier to work with than idealists. 17 years old. Son of a maid. Knows languages. Ren read from the paper. Count Morin recommends you highly. The Count himself is no fool, though provincial. Sit. He sat. Explain to me, Ren said. Why the king remembered you. Without flattery, without the version you want to sell me. A good question. Chiron thought for a second. Because I answered the question about the Valgorians the way an advisor should answer, not as though demonstrating knowledge, but as though giving useful information. Structurally. To the point. Without excess. Most people in my place would have listed facts. I gave an interpretation. The difference. The king knows the facts. Interpretation is why he called me. Ren looked at him. Good. First assignment. Listen carefully. He stood up. Walked to the map on the wall. In 3 weeks there will be negotiations with the Tezsar Republic. A trade agreement. On the surface, simple. Tezsar wants to lower duties on its grain when entering Aran. We want to lower duties on our fabrics in Tezsar. It would seem to be mutual interest. It should be easy. But it is not easy, Chiron said. No. Ren looked at him. Because Tezsar is simultaneously negotiating with Valgar. About a military alliance. If Tezsar and Valgar unite, Aran is squeezed from two sides. This trade agreement is not about grain and fabrics. It is about whether to keep Tezsar neutral. How long have I been preparing this? 3 weeks. That is enough. What do I have to work with? The archive of negotiations with Tezsar for 20 years. Personal dossiers of the delegates who will come. Trade data. And one person who knows Tezsar from the inside. Who? A former trade agent. Worked there for 8 years. Now in debt. Cooperating. Ren looked at him. Keep in mind, the man is unreliable. Verify the information. I always verify. Ren sat down. And lastly, he said. You are not going as chief negotiator. The chief is Lord Carvin. You are an advisor. Second. You stand behind. You stay silent unless he asks. Understood. Testing mode. Understood. But, Ren said, I want your assessment after each day of negotiations. Separately from Carvin's report. In writing. Honestly. So Ren does not fully trust Carvin. Or wants a second opinion. Or is testing me. Most likely all three at once. Good, Chiron said. I need access to the archive today. 3 weeks. Archive. Nights. He read. Analyzed. Built a map of interests. The Tezsar Republic is governed by a trade council. 12 families. Each has its own specialization. Grain, metal, fabrics, sea, banks. The negotiator who will come is Counselor Malin. Eldest son of a grain family. 38 years old. Legal education. Negotiation style formal, conservative, slow. Likes to drag things out. Why does he drag things out? Because time is working for him, parallel negotiations with Valgar are going on. Every week of delay puts pressure on Aran. So he must not be given time. Urgency must be created. How to create urgency? Give him what he needs quickly, but in a way that delay will cost him personally. Personally, that is the key. He pulled out the dossier. Malin is personally ambitious. He wants to become head of the entire Trade Council. For this he needs a loud victory. A successful agreement with Aran is his victory if he returns quickly and with good terms. If he drags it out and Aran toughens its position, it is his failure. So give him the possibility of a quick victory. Terms that he can sell at home as a victory. At the same time, our conditions must be fulfilled. Task: find a wording that looks like a victory for him and is a victory for us. This is negotiation classic. Mutually beneficial wording. He wrote. Rewrote. 3 variants of the position. In the second week he met with the trade agent. A rat-like man of about 40. Shifty eyes. He spoke willingly, too willingly. Unreliable, Ren is right. But the information was useful. Especially one detail. Malin personally owed money to one of the Valgorian bankers. Not much, but a fact. The connection with Valgor is not only political, personal. This means that if negotiations with Valgor give Malin financial benefits, he will pull Tezsar in that direction. Personal interest. It needs to be neutralized. Not with a threat, with an offer that is more profitable. He thought. Found it. Third week. Meeting with Lord Carvin. Lord Carvin, 40 years old. Broad, self-satisfied. From the old Iranian aristocracy. An average negotiator, Chiron understood this in the first 10 minutes of conversation. Spoke a lot. Listened little. Loved sonorous phrases. It is difficult with such a person. Not because he is an enemy, but because he will interfere without wanting to. Chiron outlined his position on the negotiations carefully, as an advisor. Not as the architect of a plan, but as a person offering several thoughts. Carvin listened. Nodded. Good, he said. Interesting. I will take something into account. He will not take it into account. He heard the words, not the essence. So the plan must be built differently. Not through Carvin, around him. So that the necessary things happen by themselves without his active participation. This is more difficult. But possible. The Tezsar delegation arrived at noon. Counselor Malin, tall, thin, neat. Gray expensive doublet. Cold gray eyes. A firm demonstrative handshake. Wants to appear stronger than he feels. Nervous but hides it well. Why nervous? Pressure, Valgor is waiting for an answer. Malin needs to decide. From the very first exchange of courtesies, Chiron heard the third level. Malin spoke about the long, tiring road. Subtext: we are important people who spent time. You owe us. Carvin answered about the beautiful weather and the joy of the visit. Subtext: nothing. Carvin does not hear the subtext. Chiron stood behind. Silent. Observed. Malin's aide was young, red-haired. Constantly looks at the chief, waits for signals. Liaison. If something unofficial needs to be passed on, through him. Tesser's interpreter was elderly. Translates accurately but sometimes a little more slowly when something is important. Thinking it over. So not just an interpreter. The third in the delegation is a woman. Not introduced. Stands aside. Looks at the room as a whole, not at people separately. Analyst. Dangerous person. Remembered everything. At lunch he sat as close as possible to the red-haired aide. Conversation about food. About the road. Chiron in Tessarian, with the correct regional accent spoken in the grain lands. The red-haired aide perked up. Recognized his own. Have you been to Tezsar? No. But I have read a lot. Your dialect is Western, correct? The lower plains. Yes. You are the first Iranian who hears that. The aide smiled. How do you know about the accent? Old books on trade. They describe dialects by region. Chiron spoke easily. In the lower plains they pronounce the R sound differently. Softer. The red-haired man was pleased. People are always pleased when their peculiarity is noticed correctly. This creates sympathy. Sympathy is not friendship, but a useful tool. By the end of lunch, Chiron knew the aide's name, where he was from, who he wanted to become, and that Malin had been tense and irritable in the last days before departure. Stress before negotiations. Or pressure from the Valgorians had intensified. Interesting. The first negotiation session was formal. Exchange of positions. Ritual. Carvin spoke beautifully and about nothing. Malin formally and precisely. Chiron stood behind. At the end of the first day he wrote a report for Ren. Day 1. Malin is more nervous than expected. Pressure from Valgar has probably increased. The woman analyst in the delegation, her role should be clarified, she is more dangerous than Malin. Aid turn is a potential channel of unofficial communication. Recommendation: in tomorrow's session one specific signal should be planted through an unofficial channel to check Malin's reaction. Details attached. Sent it with a courier. An hour later a reply from Ren. One word: act. Morning of the second day before the session. Chiron found the red-haired turn by the stables. By chance. Intentionally. A conversation about horses, Tessarian breed, Iranian breed. Casually. Then as if he remembered, I heard out of the corner of my ear yesterday that your delegation seems to be in a hurry. If you need to speed up the procedural part, I can suggest whom to address and how. Unofficially. Turn politely, we are not in a hurry. Of course, Chiron agreed. It is just that sometimes it happens that formally everything is in order, but informally it would be better a little faster. Smiled. I understand. Nothing. He left. The seed was planted. Turn will report to Malin that the Iranian knows they are in a hurry. Malin will think about how they know. He will start getting more nervous. Or he will move closer. We wait. In the second session Malin changed the pace. Slightly. Barely noticeably. Became a little less formal. Carvin did not notice it. Chiron noticed. During the break to Carvin. Lord Carvin. I can suggest something for the afternoon session. Speak. It is important for Malin to return with a concrete result. If we close the third point about the volume of grain today, he will perceive it as a personal victory. The third point is secondary for us. We can give him the figure he wants. But then he will bargain out the third point and pressure us on the first, Carvin said. Not entirely stupid. He simply does not see further. No, Chiron said. Because we close the third today voluntarily, not under pressure. In exchange we ask for nothing. Just a goodwill gesture. Malin will feel awkward pressing on the first after we gave him the third. Tessarian trade culture, reciprocity, mutuality. They do not take without giving. It will be his moral obligation. Carvin thought. That is subtle. Diplomacy is a subtle matter. Good. Carvin straightened. I will make it my idea. Of course you will. Naturally, Lord Carvin, Chiron said evenly. At the afternoon session, Carvin unexpectedly proposed closing the third point immediately. Malin was surprised. Really? Not for show. He did not expect it. He looked at his woman analyst, a short glance. She nodded barely noticeably. The analyst says take it. A good offer. The third point was closed in 40 minutes. After the session Malin approached Carvin. Said something warmly. Carvin was pleased with himself. Then Malin, passing by, looked at Chiron for a fraction of a second. Not at Carvin. At Chiron. A smart man. Understood who came up with it. Good. So he will understand the next step too. Day 3. Chiron woke up at 5 in the morning from noise in the corridor. Dressed quickly. Went out. A servant was running down the corridor. What happened? Lord Carvin. Fell down the stairs at night. His leg is broken. Now this is badly timed. Or well timed. Depends how you look at it. An hour later Ren. Personally. Rare. Looked at Chiron. Carvin is out. The negotiations cannot be interrupted, Malin will perceive it as weakness or an insult. You will lead today. I am a 17-year-old advisor. Yes. Malin will notice that. Yes. They will perceive it as a sign that we have staffing problems. Or that we do not value the negotiations. Yes, Ren said. That is exactly why you must make sure that this does not happen. Or the negotiations will fail. Malin will leave for Valgar. Chiron stood. Thought. 17 years old. First negotiations. Now chief. Jaehan smiled in his head. This was familiar. 13 missions. Half of them began not as planned. Good, he said. I need 2 hours. For what? To prepare. 2 hours. He did not read. Did not write. Saturday. Thought. Problem, youth is perceived as weakness. Solution, make youth an advantage. Do not hide it. Use it. Malin is smart. He has already understood that I am the real brain of the delegation. Carvin is the facade. If I go out now and pretend to be Carvin, I look ridiculous. But if I go out as myself, honestly, without a mask, that is different. That is respect for Malin. He will appreciate it. Plus I have what Carvin did not have. I know that Malin needs a quick victory. Today give him the first point. On our terms. But so that it looks like his victory. Wording. Everything is in the wording. He wrote a draft proposal. Reread it. Corrected it. Ready. Negotiation hall. Malin saw Chiron alone. Without Carvin. Sat opposite. Silent. Chiron spoke first. Counselor Malin. Lord Carvin was injured yesterday evening. I am Chiron, advisor. I am 17 years old. Directly. Without excuses. This is an obviously inconvenient situation for both sides. I propose to solve it simply. Malin listened. His face was impenetrable. Continue, he said. Neither of us has time for ceremonies. Chiron placed a sheet on the table. Here is our proposal on the first point. Volume. Duties. Terms. Everything in one document. Read it. If there are no fundamental objections within an hour, we sign today. Malin took the sheet. Read. For a long time. His analyst came over. Read over his shoulder. Malin raised his eyes. You wrote this document this morning? Yes. In how much time? 2 hours. You worked on it earlier, Malin said. Not a question. Yes. 3 weeks. Honestly. Malin looked at him. So yesterday with the third point was also you? Yes. Carvin is decoration. Carvin is a respected diplomat with great experience, Chiron said evenly. Who today, unfortunately, cannot be present. Malin almost smiled for the first time in 3 days. Honestly, he said. This matters to you. Yes, Malin said. It matters to me. The first personal fact he revealed himself. Good. Malin looked at the document again. Here, he said. 5th paragraph. The term for revising duties is 3 years. We need 2. Acceptable, Chiron said immediately. Malin raised his eyebrows. He had not expected such a quick concession. Without consultation. I consulted for 3 weeks, Chiron said. 2 years is our lower limit. We accept it. That was true. He had deliberately put 3 in order to concede 2. Malin felt that. But accepted. Because he needed a victory. Good, Malin said. Put the document on the table. I need an hour with the analyst. Of course. Chiron stood. Left. In the corridor he exhaled. So far good. So far. An hour later he returned to the hall. Malin. The analyst. And a surprise. A third person who had not been there before. Elderly. Expensive clothes not of Tessarian cut. Different. Gray steel color, Valgorian fashion. So that is how it is. A Valgorian. Here. Now. Karen's face did not change. He sat down. Malin formally, this is Mr. Sauer. An observer. From. Trading Partners. Trading Partners Valgor. So the Valgorians sent an observer to the Tessarian negotiations with Aaron. This is either pressure on Malin, we are watching you. Or intelligence. To see what we are offering. In any case, everything has changed. Sour looked at Chiron. Dark eyes. Smart. Cold. He spoke in Iranian with a strong accent, young for a diplomat. It happens, Chiron said. In Valgar people become diplomats after 40. Aaron has different traditions. Sour smiled. Unpleasantly. Continue. You cannot continue, continue. Commanding tone. Testing the reaction. Chiron looked at Malin. My apologies, Counselor Malin. These are negotiations between the Tezsar Republic and the Kingdom of Aaron. Observers from third parties are not provided for by our protocol. I need to clarify your status for the record. Is Mr. Sour an official representative of Valgar or a private individual? Sour looked at him. Malin looked at the table. Private, Sour said. Then, unfortunately, the presence of private individuals at closed negotiations is impossible. Chiron spoke evenly. Without apologies. Without aggression. This is standard procedure. Please understand correctly. Now Sour can, leave, Chiron 1, Malin feels awkward, B object, then the situation escalates, C Malin defends him, which means Malin has already chosen Valgar and the negotiations are dead. Sour stood up. Slowly. I understand, he said. See you, Counselor Malin. Left. Silence. Malin looked at Chiron. You have just insulted an observer from the Valgorian Empire. I observed protocol, Chiron said. If that is an insult, the protocol is badly written. But I did not write the protocol. Counselor Malin. Tezsar is a sovereign state. Its negotiations are its business. If Valgar wants an observer at Tessaranian negotiations, that is a question for Tessar's sovereignty, not for me. Malin listened. He hears the third level, Chiron gave him an argument. Against Valgar. Covered him. Long silence. Let us continue with the document, Malin said. And his voice became warmer. Slightly. Barely. Enough. By evening the document was signed. The first and third points were closed. The second was for final verification the next day. In effect, the agreement was ready. Chiron wrote a report to Ren. Wrote everything, including Sour. Added at the end, Valgar was personally present at the negotiations. This means they already perceive Tezsar as their zone of influence. Our agreement is not just trade. It is a signal that Tezsar preserves its independence. Malin understood this. That is why he signed. Recommendation, in the next 6 months, 2 or 3 cultural exchanges with Tezsar. Consolidate. Before Valgar comes up with a response. Sent it. Lay down to sleep. At 23:30 there was a knock at the door. Opened. Red-haired turn. Pale. Nervous. Mr. Chiron. Quietly. You need to know something. Mr. Sour. He has not left. He is with Malin. Talking for a long time. I heard the word traitor. In Valgorian. They are threatening Malin. If Malin gets scared, in the morning he will refuse the signature. The agreement is dead. Chiron thought for 3 seconds. Turn. Where exactly are they? The small apartments. East wing. Good. You told me nothing. Go to sleep. Turn left. Chiron dressed. Going to Malin now is rude. A violation of protocol. A signal of weakness, we know we are being pressured and we panic. Not going, they will press Malin down. Third option. Wrote a note. Short. In Tessarian. Counselor Malin. Tomorrow morning I expect you at the signing. Your choice tonight is your choice forever. Aaron remembers allies. Found a servant. Gave a coin. Deliver personally to Counselor Malin. Now. The servant left. Chiron returned to the room. Lay down. There was nothing else he could do. Or he could. But he must not. Diplomacy is also knowing when to stop. Fell asleep. In the morning Malin came to the signing. Without Sour. alone. Early. Waited by the hall. When Chiron approached, they stood opposite each other. Malin said quietly, "Not for the record, I received your note." "Yes." Aaron remembers allies. Repeated. "Is that a promise?" "It is a fact," Chiron said. Malin looked at him. "How old are you?" 17. "In 10 years you will be a dangerous man." "I will try," Chiron said. The agreement was signed at 9 in the morning. 6 months. Many things changed. Chiron, official royal diplomat. Not advisor, diplomat. Youth stopped being a topic of conversation at court and became a topic of conversation at other courts. The Iranian boy diplomat. Speaks 8 languages. Sees in 5 minutes what others do not see in 5 hours. Rumors are also a tool. Conducted 3 more negotiations. All successful. One trade, easy. Another a territorial dispute with a small barony, more difficult. The third a border conflict with the Drak Mountain Union. The Drak are different. Not merchants. Warriors. For them negotiations are humiliation. They come from a position of strength or they do not come. With them, another approach. The Drak negotiator was an old warrior. Scars on his face. Looked at Chiron like at an insect. Chiron answered in Drak with the correct mountain dialect. Used 3 old warrior sayings correctly, exactly in context. The Drak changed. Did not warm up, but looked differently. Respect in their culture through knowledge of their language. Through recognition of their traditions. Not friendship. Respect. That is enough. The conflict was settled. At court, things became more complicated. Success attracts envy. It is the same everywhere. In Korea, in Aaron, everywhere. Lord Carvin recovered. His leg healed. Looked at Chiron badly. Publicly said nothing, Chiron still mentioned him with respect at every opportunity. Though it was slowly killing Carvin. Advisor Ren was silent. But gave assignments. More difficult. The king summoned him rarely. But when he summoned him, he spoke directly. Without intermediaries. This is a sign of trust at the Iranian court. Mother Ira now lived in a good house. Small. A gift from her son. She looked at him with the same mixture of fear and love, but now there was less fear. Chiron visited every 2 weeks. They sat. Drank tea. Mother told him about the neighbors, he listened. Not because it was interesting, but because she was speaking. And that is more important. 7th month. Ren summoned him to a closed room. Without servants. Locked the door. Serious. Sit. He sat. The Valgorian Empire, Ren began. 3 months ago they annexed the Duchy of Loren. Small. No one noticed much. 2 months ago, a border fortress of Aaron. Officially a misunderstanding. Our governor there was afraid to object. A month ago they executed our trade representative in Valgar. Charge, espionage. Without trial. Silence. This is a consistent escalation, Chiron said. Yes. They are testing our reaction. Yes. And there was no reaction. There was none, Ren agreed. Because we do not have an army that can respond. Valgar is 3 times bigger than us. Therefore, not a military response. A diplomatic one. What exactly? Ren stood up. Went to the window. We need an alliance. A real one. With someone strong enough for Valgar to stop. There are 2 options. Tezsar already partially. But Tezsar are merchants, they do not want to fight. The second option is the Confederation of Free Cities in the south. 7 city-states. Together an army comparable to Valgar. Why have we not agreed yet? Because the Confederation does not speak with kingdoms. Ren turned around. They have a principle. They are republicans. For them, monarchy is a symbol of oppression. They rejected all attempts at negotiations as humiliating to their principles. Chiron thought. So one cannot come as a monarchy asking for an alliance. Yes. One needs to come differently. Yes. How? We have not come up with. Long silence. I will come up with it, Chiron said. You are going there. Not a question. Yes, Chiron said. But I need time. And freedom of action. Without instructions that I must follow exactly. Ren looked at him. How much freedom? Complete. Within the limits that I do not give away territory and do not pay tribute. Those are broad limits. The task is broad. Ren thought. Good, Ren said. But you go incognito. Not as a royal diplomat. I understand. If the Confederation finds out you are from the king, the doors will close. Forever. I know. If Valgar finds out that we are looking for an alliance in the south, it will accelerate their aggression. Ren spoke quietly and clearly. If something happens to you, officially you are not there on our business. We will not confirm. Chiron looked at him. So I am alone. Yes. And if I am captured, Eren stays silent. Yes. Jaehan inside smirked. 13 missions. Half were the same. Officially you do not exist. Unofficially you do. When do I leave? In 4 days. I need 3. For what? To prepare. Ren nodded. Then, for the first time, added something he had never said before, Chiron. Be careful. You are a rare person. There are few like you. Chiron stood up. That means losing me is unprofitable. Understood. Ren almost smiled. Go. 3 days. Day 1, Legend. Cannot go as a diplomat. Cannot go as a merchant, too easy to verify. Scholar. In the Confederation of Free Cities there is a cult of knowledge. Libraries, universities, open debates. Scholars are respected and accepted without extra questions. Chiron constructed a personality, Eric from Naren, a small border town that used to exist and was destroyed, no one to check. Scholar linguist. Studies the dialects of Ertan. Travels, records, publishes in little-known journals. A solid legend, real linguistics, real knowledge of languages. No falsehood. If asked, he will answer. Day 2, People. Cannot go alone. A lone scholar arouses less suspicion than guards, but the road is dangerous. Animals. Bandits. And Valgorian agents on the roads. Ren assigned 2. The first, Bowen. 30 years old. A silent man who knew how to be invisible. A former royal guardsman, left for an unnamed reason. Fences well. Speaks rarely. Assessed Chiron quickly with one glance from head to toe. Chiron assessed him too. Reliable. Does not ask questions. Does his job. The second, Lin. A woman of about 25. Red-haired, fast, sharp. Introduced herself as a groom and everything else. What was hidden under everything else Chiron had not yet found out. But she looked too attentively for a groom. Scout. Ren's person. Watching both the mission and him. Normal. Expected. Day 3, Information. The Confederation of Free Cities. 7 cities. Capital of Ren. The largest. They're the Council of the Confederation. 7 representatives, 1 from each city. The current chairman of the council is Samir Dose. 60 years old. Philosopher by education. A principled Republican. Hates monarchy sincerely, not politically, precisely sincerely. This is important. Sincere people are more difficult. A political position can be bypassed through interest. Sincere convictions are another matter. So do not bypass. Meet directly. But not as a monarchy. As a person. As a person who did not choose where he was born. Thought about this for a long time. Found an approach. Went to bed at midnight. Lay and thought. In Korea there was a similar situation. Negotiations with a delegation that fundamentally refused to sit at the same table with imperialists. Deadlock for 3 weeks. How did they solve it then? Change the format. Not negotiations, an academic discussion. Same people, same question, different name. Principles are not violated, just another context. This works. Samir Dose is a philosopher. So he loves discussions. Loves arguing. Loves when he is convinced by a good argument. Do not ask for an alliance. Propose a discussion. Fell asleep at 2. They left at dawn. 3 people, 3 horses, 2 pack horses. Modestly. As it should be for a middling scholar. The road south takes 8 days at normal riding. The first 2 days were calm. Bowen rode a little ahead. Silent. Looked at the road, at the trees, at the horizon. Professionally. Lin stayed near Chiron. Talked a lot about the weather, horses, towns they passed through. Chiron listened, answered, observed. On the 3rd hour of the first day he understood something. Lin talked a lot but never talked about herself. Not one personal fact. When he asked, she shifted the conversation. Smoothly, skillfully. This is not a groom. And not even just a scout. This is a trained person. Trained by whom is the question. On the 2nd evening by the fire Chiron asked directly, Lin. Do you work for Ren or for someone else? Lin stopped stirring the stew. Raised her eyes. Calmly. For Eren, she said. That is a broad answer. That was the question. Chiron looked at her. Good, he said. Then for now our interests coincide. If they stop, tell me in advance. I value honesty more than loyalty. Lin looked at him. An unusual diplomat. Ordinary diplomats do not get where they need to go, Chiron said. I get there. Lin nodded briefly. Started stirring the stew again. Not agreement. But recognition. Enough. 3rd day. Forest. The road narrowed. Bowen raised his hand. Stop. They stopped. Ahead on the road. 3 people. Standing across the path. Not by chance. Chiron looked. Bandits, bad clothes, cheap weapons. But 3 in front. So there are some behind. Looked back. 2 were coming out from behind the trees behind. 5. Get down, 1 in front said. Horses and bags. You will leave alive. Chiron got down from the horse. Slowly. Hands in view. Bowen too. Hand near the sword, but not drawing yet. Lin dismounted. Imperceptibly ended up slightly to the left. The chief bandit came closer. Large. Knife in hand. Faster. Bags. Of course, Chiron said. 1 second. Began slowly removing a bag from the horse. At the same time he spoke quietly, calmly, not to the bandit, as if thinking aloud, 3 in front, 2 behind. 2 have swords, 3 have knives. Bowen can handle the 2 on the right if he starts now. Lin with the 1 on the left. I am with you, he nodded to the chief. But that is noisy. And someone will suffer. Most likely you. The chief frowned. What are you babbling? Counting options, Chiron said. I have another offer. You let us pass. In exchange, I tell you something useful. What can you say that is useful? 5 kilometers from here is the 3 Stones Inn. In 3 hours a trade convoy from Naren will arrive there. 2 guards. Cargo, copperware. Do you know how much copperware costs at the market in Hele? The bandit looked at him. How do you know about the convoy? Because we rode together for the first 2 days and parted in Forn, Chiron said. We are scholars. We have nothing to share. The convoy is another matter. Long silence. The bandits exchanged glances. The chief thought. Chiron saw how he was thinking, slowly, distrustfully, but calculating the benefit. If you are lying, we will find you. If I am lying, you will waste 3 hours. Chiron shrugged. If I am not lying, copperware. Decide. More silence. Ride, the chief said. They mounted the horses. Rode on. When the bandits disappeared from view, Lin rode closer. Does the convoy exist? No, Chiron said. They will find us. They will wait 3 hours for a non-existent convoy. Then get angry. Then maybe go searching. But in 3 hours we will be 20 kilometers farther. Chiron looked ahead. Their horses are worse than ours. They will not find us. Lin was silent for a second. And if they had not agreed? Then Bowen and you. I do not believe much in a bandit with a knife as a combat unit. Bowen ahead did not turn around. But something in his back changed. Approval. In his own way. Day 5. A problem of another kind. A night's lodging in a small town. Inn. Modest. Chiron sat in the common hall eating, listening to conversations. Habit. At the neighboring table, 4 people. Expensive clothes. Too expensive for this road. Spoke quietly. Arenian language. But one of them exchanged a couple of words with the second in another language. Valgorian. Chiron did not change. Continued eating. Listened. Fragments. Enough, Arenian envoy is going south. Looking for an alliance. Intercept before of Ren. Bad. Valgar knows. Or suspects. Someone leaked. Who? Not necessarily a traitor, they could have calculated logically. If Aaron is looking for a counterweight to Valgar, the south is the only option. Finished eating. Stood up. Went upstairs to Bowen and Lin. We are changing route. Now. At night. Lin. Those 4 downstairs are Valgorian intelligence. They know we are looking for an alliance in the south. Chiron spoke quietly and quickly. They do not know exactly who. If they have not seen our faces up close yet, they have not connected us. We leave now before they connect us. Bowen was already putting on his jacket. Lin looked at Chiron. Alternative route. There is one. Further east. Through a mountain pass. 2 days longer. It is dangerous there in winter. In winter, yes. Now it is the end of autumn. We will make it. They left through the back window. Bowen led the horses out quietly. He knew how. They rode 3 kilometers into the darkness. Stopped in the forest. Chiron looked at the stars through the branches. Valgar acts quickly. So the pressure on Aaron is more real than Ren thought. We need to make it in time. We sleep 2 hours in turns, he said. In the morning, into the mountains. The Dane Mountain Pass. A narrow trail. Rocks. The wind sharp, cold. The horses walked slowly. Bowen led the front one by the reins. The trail was unreliable. The first day in the mountains went normally. The second day, snow. Not heavy. But slippery. Chiron rode and thought about Samir Dose. About the first words at the meeting. This is the most important of all, the first phrase sets the tone. It can be remade later. But expensively. Cannot say I am from the king. Cannot say we are asking for an alliance. Cannot say we have a common enemy, that is tactics, not for a philosopher. Samir Dose is a philosopher. Loves ideas. Loves principles. Lives by them. So, an idea. What idea can unite a monarchy and a republic? Not benefit. Not fear. Principle. The principle of sovereignty. The right of a people to self-determination. Both the monarchy of Aaron and the Confederation can accept this. Aaron wants to live by its own rules. The Confederation too. Valgar takes this right away from both. This is the principle that unites. He thought so deeply that he did not notice. Bowen shouted, "Stop." Chiron raised his head. Ahead on the trail. 2. Not bandits, different clothes. Dark. Good. Seriously armed. And behind. Chiron turned around. 3 were coming out from behind the rocks. Behind. An ambush. In the mountains. So they knew the route. Or followed from the inn. We thought we left unnoticed, no. Nowhere to go. Rock on the right. Cliff on the left. The trail is 5 steps wide. One of those in front approached. Spoke in Iranian with an accent, young diplomat of Erin. We were asked to deliver you to Valgar. Alive. Looked at Bowen and Lin. We were not asked for your people. They want to take him alive. So they will not kill immediately. This gives time. Bowen and Lin are in danger. 5 against 3. Bowen is good. Lin unknown how much. In the mountains, on a narrow trail, numerical advantage means less. But still dangerous. Chiron got down from the horse. Slowly. Raised his hands. Good, he said. I will go. Let my people go. Bowen sharply, no. Bowen, Chiron said evenly, without turning around. That is an order. You are not military. You cannot, I am telling you what to do, Chiron said in the same even tone. Take the horses. Lin knows where to ride. Tell Ren that I encounter an obstacle. He will understand the rest. Ren will understand, so the mission continues without him. This is more important. The Valgorian looked at Chiron. Smart. But no. Your people are coming too. Why do you need them? Witnesses who can tell where we are going are not needed. They want to kill them. They just did not say it directly. Chiron thought quickly. 5. Narrow trail. Cliff behind. Rock ahead. One option they do not expect. Turned to Bowen. Looked for a second meaningfully. Shifted his gaze to the left side of the trail, the cliff. Then to the pack horse. To the rope fastening the load. Bowen looked. Thought. Understood or not. Chiron back to the Valgorian. Spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear, you are making a mistake. I am a private individual. A scholar. If you attack civilians in the Dane Mountains, this is territory under the protection of the Drac Mountain Union. An attack on travelers here is a violation of the Drac Code. Chiron spoke methodically. The Drac do not forgive this. Not Valgar, not anyone else. The Valgorian twitched. Barely noticeably. Drac is real fear. The Mountain Union does not start wars first, but always responds harshly. Even Valgar carefully bypasses them. Doubt appeared. Small. But there. At that moment Bowen acted. Not against the Valgorians. Against the pack horse. A sharp slap on the rump, the horse jerked forward. Into the 2 Valgorians in front. The load on its side swung, interfered. At the same time Lin jumped. Not forward. Left onto the rock. Found a ledge, pushed off, ended up above the 3 behind. Threw something, 3 quick movements. Small knives. 1 hit. Second missed. Third in the leg. Bowen, sword. 2 in front distracted by the horse, 1 strike, second. Chiron, the main Valgorian nearby. Without a sword. But a knife inside his jacket. Count Morin had taught fencing. Not well. Enough. The chief lunged, Chiron dodged right. Rock on the right, bad. Left, cliff. Stood at the very edge. The Valgorian looked. Smiled. Nowhere. There is, Chiron said. Threw the knife. Not at the Valgorian. Past him. Into the rope with which the second pack horse was tied. The rope snapped. The load slid down. The horse jerked backward straight into the Valgorian. He had not expected it. Lost balance. Bowen was already nearby. In 40 seconds, everything. 5 on the ground. 2 unconscious. 2 wounded. 1 Bowen held by the scruff. Chiron exhaled. Looked at his own hands. Trembling a little. That is normal. A body reaction. Alive. Bowen to him. Alive. Have you thrown knives before? In lessons. Long ago. Threw badly. I was aiming at the rope, Chiron said. Hit the rope. Bowen looked at him. Is that true? 50% true, Chiron said. 60% luck. But it worked. Lin jumped down from the rock. Examined the wounded. Businesslike. 3 alive. What about them? Chiron looked at the 5. Take their weapons. Tie them up. Leave them here. Took the horses. The Mountain Union patrols this pass. They will find them and deal with them. They will tell about us, Lin said. They will tell that they attacked travelers on Drac territory. Chiron was already getting into the saddle. The Drac will not let them go quickly. We will have enough time. Let's go. Lin beside him was silent for several minutes. Then, about the Drac code, is that true? True, Chiron said. Attacking travelers in the Dane Mountains is a serious violation. The Drac really punish it. Chiron looked ahead. I did not invent it. I used it. You always use the truth as a weapon. A lie is a one-use weapon. Truth is reusable. Chiron rode. A lie has to be remembered. Truth remembers itself. Bowen ahead did not turn around. But his horse quickened its pace. A little. That meant he was pleased. In his own way. The Confederation of Free Cities. The border is not a wall. A post with a symbol. 7 stars on a blue background. Each one a city. They passed without stopping. The border guard, young, bored, asked the purpose of the visit. Scholar. I am studying the dialects of the South, Chiron said. Correctly pronounced several words in the local dialect, which differed from the northern one. The border guard perked up. Corrected the pronunciation of one word. Chiron thanked him. Wrote it down in a notebook. The border guard smiled. Let them through. People love when their language is studied. The same everywhere. Of Ren. A large city. Not a castle on a hill, but spread wide, noisy, open. Markets, a university, public squares where people argued aloud about anything. This was a real contrast with Aaron. There, protocol, hierarchy, silence before elders. Here, shout what you think and you will be heard. Samir Dose is good here. This is his environment. Found rooms. Modest. Bowen and Lin waited. Chiron changed clothes. Came out. Where to? Lin. To the university. Why there first and not to the council? Because to the council through the university. Lin looked. Did not understand. Samir Dose is a philosopher. Before he became chairman, he taught at Avren University for 20 years. He still gives 1 lecture a week. On Fridays. Chiron buttoned his jacket. Today is Friday. University Hall. Large. Wooden benches. Students of all sorts. Young, older. One very elderly man in the corner. Listened with his eyes closed. Samir Dose was short. Gray hair cut short. A mobile, expressive face. Spoke without notes. Walked around the hall. Asked students questions not for the answer, for thinking. The topic of the lecture Chiron caught in the middle: can a state built on the principle of freedom justify an alliance with a state that denies that principle? So that is how it is. He is already thinking about this. So the question of Aaron has reached him. Knows that he may be asked. Chiron sat in the last row. Listened. Samir Dose developed arguments methodically. Presented positions with respect for each. One student objected heatedly. Samir listened. Answered. Did not refute, added an angle. An honest thinker. Does not seek victory in an argument. Seeks truth. With such a person one must be careful. Cannot outplay. He will sense manipulation instantly. At the end of the lecture the students dispersed. Chiron stayed. Approached when the hall emptied. Samir Dose was putting papers together. Raised his eyes. New student. No. Traveler. Linguist. Chiron gave the name from his legend. Happened to be passing by. Interesting topic. By chance, Samir repeated. Not with sarcasm, with interest. Almost by chance, Chiron corrected. Samir looked at him. A sharp gaze. Used to assessing people quickly after 20 years of students. Linguist. From where? Narin. A small town. You do not know it. I do not. Samir closed his bag. The question of the lecture touched you? Yes. Why? Because the answer to it is not philosophical, Chiron said. Samir stopped. Interesting. Why not philosophical? Because it is practical. The principle of freedom does not live in a vacuum. It lives among other principles that deny it. The question is not whether one can conclude an alliance, the question is what happens if one does not. Samir looked at him. You are not a linguist. I am a linguist who thinks about politics, Chiron said. That is not a contradiction. Long silence. Samir Doe sat on the edge of the table. Do you want to talk further? Very much, Chiron said. First contact exists. Now the hardest part. The conversation continued in a small room at the university. Local tea. Bitter, warm. Samir spoke willingly. Loved thinking aloud. Chiron listened. Asked questions. Rarely. Precisely. Rule of a diplomat, let a person talk. People reveal themselves if you do not interfere. Every word is information. After an hour Samir stopped. Looked at Chiron. You ask questions like a person who knows where the conversation is leading. All conversations lead somewhere, Chiron said. Not everyone knows where. You know. Yes. Samir set the cup aside. You are from Aaron. Not from Narin, from Aaron. Narin was destroyed 30 years ago. No one is born and grows up there. Chiron did not change. Samir continued. You speak at least 8 languages, I heard how you greeted 2 students in different dialects at the entrance. This is not an amateur linguist. Chiron was silent. And the question you asked is not accidental interest. It is probing. Silence. Chiron thought for a second. He could hold the legend. He could go into denial. He could become offended. How dare you? No. All of that is for a person who does not see the 3rd level. Samir sees. A lie now will close all doors. Only one option. Yes, Chiron said. Samir was not surprised. Was waiting. I am from Aaron. A royal diplomat. I am 18 years old. Took the cup. Drank. I came because Aaron needs an alliance. Valgar is advancing. Without a counterweight, we will be swallowed. The Confederation is the only one that can stop this. And you thought I would not understand who you are, Samir said. No, Chiron said. I thought you would understand. But later. After we talk. After you see a person, not an ambassador of a monarchy. Samir looked at him. Cunning. Honest, Chiron corrected. I really wanted you to see a person. Because an alliance between states begins with people. Not with documents. Set the cup aside. I am not asking for an alliance right now. I am asking for a conversation. A real one. About your question from the lecture because it is the right question. And I have something to say. Long silence. Samir looked out the window. Outside the window, a square. People were arguing about something. Laughing. Alive. Do you know why I hate monarchies? Samir said. Not why. I know that. I do not know the details. My father was a serf under an Iranian nobleman. Samir spoke calmly. Without anger, time had killed the anger, firmness remained. Worked all his life. Died not free. His opinion was not asked even once. His life belonged to another person. By right of birth. Chiron listened. I ran away at 17, Samir continued. Came here. Studied. Became who I became. Looked at Chiron. Erin is the place where my father died a slave. Silence. Chiron could say a lot. About the fact that serfdom in Erin is being softened. About the fact that King Theodore is not the worst ruler. About historical context. All of that would be true. And all of that would be wrong now. I am sorry, Chiron said. Simply. Samir looked at him. Had not expected it. I know. But it is true. What happened to your father was wrong. It should not have been that way. Chiron looked straight. I will not say that Erin is an ideal place. It is not. I will say that if Valgar swallows Erin, there will be far more people like your father there. Because Valgar does not soften serfdom. It strengthens it. Silence. Long. That is an argument to benefit, Samir finally said. Not to principle. It is an argument to consequences, Chiron said. Principles live or die depending on what happens to the people under them. Your principle of freedom will die together with the people who carry it if Valgar meets no resistance. Samir stood up. Walked around the room. Stopped by the window. What are you asking for specifically? A meeting with the council. Official. Chiron also stood up. I am not asking for a military alliance immediately. I am asking for a conversation. Before everyone. Open. If after it the council says no, I will leave. The council does not receive ambassadors of monarchies. Then let it receive a person, Chiron said. A person who came to explain what is happening in the north. Without crowns and protocols. Samir looked at him. You are 18 years old. Yes. Where did you learn this? Chiron thought for a second. In a past life, he said. It was the only truth he could say. And the only one he could not explain. Samir looked at him strangely. Then nodded. Tomorrow at noon. Council. He did not sleep at night. Not from fear, from thoughts. Lay on the hard bed of the inn. Looked at the ceiling. Thought about the seven. Samir Dose had already partly understood. Had not agreed. But had opened up. That is better than a closed door. The other 6 are unknown. The archive gave names and general biographies. That is little. A living person in 3 minutes of conversation gives more than a page of text. But there will be no 3 minutes. There will be one chance. One hall. 7 pairs of eyes. Jahan inside sorted through. 13 missions. The hardest, Geneva. 4 sides of the conflict, 3 of which did not want to sit at one table. The solution was to find what all 4 had in common. Not interest. Fear. The same fear. Here it is the same. What do all 7 fear? Losing what they built. The free cities are not just a political construction. It is the life they chose. Each of the 7 representatives is a person who either chose this life himself or whose parents chose it. This is not abstraction. This is personal. So talk not about Erin. About the Confederation. About what it loses if Valgar grows to its borders. This is more honest. And more precise. Got up at 4 in the morning. Sat down to write. Not a speech, notes. Structure. 3 arguments. Each from 2 sides. His own and the one from which they will object. If they object like this, answer like this. If they object differently, like this. Lin came in at 6. Brought bread and something hot. Put it down. Looked at the written sheets. Preparing. Yes. Nervous. No. Lin looked at him. Not at all. Nerves are information. They say what matters. I use information, I do not tremble from it. Lin took 1 sheet. Read. Here you write that the Confederation will lose trade routes if Valgar closes the northern roads. Yes. Is that true? It is a probability. High enough to speak of it seriously. They will check. Let them check, Chiron said. I am not saying untruth. I am saying what is probable and explaining why. Lin put the sheet down. One of the 7 members of the council is Darna Ves. Lin spoke carefully. You need to know. I know the name. Representative of the city of Korra. Former military. Not only. Lin made a short pause that under other circumstances she would have called a pause. 3 years ago. The Iranian border guard seized a detachment from Korra. Accused them of violating the border. Held them for a month. Released them after pressure from the Confederation. Lin looked at Chiron. The commander of that detachment was Darna Ves's nephew. Chiron put the pen aside. Bad. Yes. He hates Eren personally. Most likely. So everything I say he will hear through that story. Yes. Chiron stood up. Walked around. A person with a personal grievance is the most difficult in the hall. Not because he is smarter than the others. Because arguments are secondary for him. He has come with a ready answer. Everything you say is filtered through grievance. What to do with such a person? Acknowledge it. Directly. Before he raises it himself. If you acknowledge it yourself, it is honesty. If he raises it, it is a weakness you were hiding. Good, Chiron said. I will be ready. Lin turned to the door. Lin, Chiron stopped her. She turned around. Who are you really? Silence. I already said. A groom and everything else. How do you know about Darna Ves and his nephew? This is not in open archives. Chiron looked at her. Ren could not know, for him this is a minor border incident from 3 years ago. But you know. Lin stood in the doorway. For a long time. I was there, she finally said. In that border detachment. Chiron looked at her. You are from the Confederation. I am from Korra. Lin spoke evenly. Ren found me 2 years ago. Offered work. I agreed. Why? Because Valgar killed my brother. Briefly. Without expression. A year ago. On the border. My brother was a merchant. Not military. Just a merchant. Silence. So you want the same thing as I do, Chiron said. I want Valgar to stop killing people who get in its way, Lin said. It does not matter how that is achieved. Then help me today. I am already helping, Lin said. And left. Chiron looked at the closed door. So that is how it is. Ren is more cunning than he seemed. Sent with him a person from the Confederation. Not a watcher, a guide. In a way. Or both. Does not matter. Now an ally. That is enough. 10 in the morning. 2 hours until the meeting with the council. Chiron dressed. Not in travel clothes. In what he had taken specially, a good shirt, a simple doublet. Not luxurious, solid. Did not shout about money. Spoke of dignity. Went out into the street. Of Ren in the morning alive. Market. Smell of bread. Children running somewhere. He walked to the university, a meeting with Samir before the council had been arranged. Halfway stopped. Ahead on the street a familiar face. Sour. The same one. The Valgorian observer whom Chiron had expelled from the negotiations in Eren. Walking down the same street. In the other direction. Did not see Chiron. So that is how it is. So not only the mountain detachment. Sour personally came to Avren. This is serious. Sour is not an ordinary agent. This is a man with authority. He is here to prevent the meeting with the council. Or has already spoken with someone from the council. Chiron to the side. Around the corner. Quickly. Before Sour turned. Stood by the wall. Thought. 2 hours of time. Sour could have warned the council. Could have told them that an Iranian diplomat is coming. Could have given his version. Eren is looking for an alliance against Valgar. The Confederation should not get involved in other people's wars. This is not their business. This is a strong argument. Especially for those in the council who are fundamentally against intervention. If Sour has already spoken, half the council is set against him before Chiron opens his mouth. Quickly back to the inn. Found Lin. Sour is here. Lin was not surprised. Frowned. When did he arrive? I do not know. Just saw him. If he managed to speak with the council, I know. We need to find out whether he managed to or not. How? You have someone in Avren. From Korra or from the Confederation in general? Someone you trust. Lin thought for a second. There is one. We need to know whether the Valgorian spoke with members of the council. There is an hour. Half an hour, Lin said. And left. Chiron waited. Thought. If Sour has already spoken, the plan changes. Cannot go to the meeting with the same approach. Need to open another side. Waited 20 minutes. Lin returned. Spoke. Yesterday evening. With 2 members of the council. The trade representative of Avren, Messer Nolt. And with Darna Ves. 2 of 7. And Darna Ves was already set against him. So 2 knowingly hostile votes before the beginning. Did they find out what exactly he said? Partially. Said that Eren is looking for a military alliance. That it wants to drag the Confederation into war. That Eren is weak and an alliance with it is a burden. Lin looked. And also that the Iranian envoy is young and inexperienced. That he was sent because there was no one else. Chiron smirked. He should not have said that. Why? Because now I can use it. Stood up. Put on the doublet. Let's go. I will not meet with Samir before the council. Why? Because Sour could be watching him too. If they see that we talk before the session, they will say that Samir is already on our side. That will weaken his position in the council. Chiron buttoned the buttons. Samir must enter there independent. Lin looked at him. You think for everyone at once. That is the job, Chiron said. Let's go. The council hall of the Confederation. Not pompous, functional. Round table. 7 chairs. Windows on 3 sides, the light even, highlighting no one. Good design. Deliberate. Everyone equal at the round table. Chiron entered alone. Bowen and Lin stayed outside. 7 people looked at him. Samir dose in his chair. Face impenetrable. As it should be. Darna Ves immediately visible. Large, broad-shouldered, about 50. Short gray hair. Looked at Chiron like it a problem he had already solved before the meeting. Messer Nolt, trade representative of Avren. Thin, neat, 55 years old. Smart, quick eyes. Merchant. Used to counting. The other 4 for the first time. Chiron swept his gaze over them in 5 seconds. Quickly. Imperceptibly. Fixed the details. A woman of about 40, straight back, crossed arms. Closed. Waiting. An elderly man looks with interest. Not biased, genuine. A young man of about 30. Nervous. Possibly new in the council. The last middle-aged. Looking out the window. Tired. Or pretending. Samir formally, the council has accepted an unusual request and agreed to hear the guest. Looked at Chiron. Introduce yourself. Chiron stood in the center. My name is Chiron. I am 18 years old. I am a royal diplomat of Eren. Said directly. Without legend. Yesterday evening, the representative of the Valgorian Empire, Sour, met with 2 members of this council. He told them that I am young and inexperienced. That Eren is weak. That an alliance with us is a burden. Silence. Darna Ves narrowed his eyes. Messer Nolt's face changed slightly. Sour is right in one thing, Chiron continued. I am young. 18 years old is non-standard for a diplomat. A small pause. But he is wrong in the main thing. I was sent not because there was no one else. I was sent because I was the one who asked the right question. What question? Said the elderly man with sincere interest. What will happen to the Confederation if Valgar swallows Eren? Silence. That is not our question, Darnavest said. His voice low, firm. Eren is a monarchy. Their problems are their business. Darnaban, Chiron used the correct respectful form of address from Korra, Lin had taught him on the road. I heard about your nephew. About what happened 3 years ago on the border. Vest tensed. That was wrong, Chiron said. What happened was wrong. The Iranian border guard exceeded their authority. It was a violation. Looked straight. I cannot fix the past. But I can tell you the truth, if I had been there, I would have done everything to prevent it. Ves was silent. Those are beautiful words, he finally said. Yes. Chiron did not argue. Words are my weapon. But I do not use them to deceive you. I use them to say what I think more precisely than without words. The woman with the straight back spoke for the first time. What exactly do you want from the Confederation? A treaty of non-aggression and mutual defense in case of external aggression, Chiron said. Not a military alliance in the traditional sense. No one is obligated to fight for the other first. But if one is attacked, the other does not stand aside. That is a military alliance, Messer Nolt said. That is the principle of collective security, Chiron said. The difference is that no one loses sovereignty. Everyone decides for themselves in each specific situation. Then what is the point? Nolt spoke sharply. If everyone decides for themselves, it is not a treaty. It is a wish. The point is the signal, Chiron said. Valgar is acting now because it is certain that everyone stands alone. Eren alone. The Confederation aside. Tessar silent. Loners are easy targets. Stopped. A signal that you are not aside changes Valgar's calculation. They do not need a war on two fronts. They will stop. Or accelerate, Darnavest said. Strike while we have not united. Possibly, Chiron said. That is a real risk. I will not say that there are no risks. This stopped several of them. A diplomat who acknowledges risks is unexpected. Usually they sell only the advantages. The elderly men with interest leaned forward. You said you asked the right question. What will happen to the Confederation if Eren falls? What exactly do you think will happen? The northern border of the Confederation currently borders Eren. Eren is a small state. Peaceful. Chiron spoke methodically. If Eren becomes Valgar, your northern border will become the Valgorian border. 200 kilometers. Now it is quiet there. Then it will not be. Looked at Nolt. Trade routes through the north will close or come under Valgorian control. Duties will rise. Your merchants will lose access to northern markets. Nolt was silent. Counting. And also, Chiron added. Valgar does not stop at what it has taken. This is not theory. This is the history of the last 20 years. Loren. Near Fortress. 3 trade missions. Swept his gaze over all 7. The question is not whether Valgar will attack the Confederation. The question is when. Silence in the hall. A silence that Chiron knew how to read. Several are thinking. The young one is less nervous, drawn in. The elderly one is almost convinced. The woman is listening more attentively. Darnaves is still resisting. But does not object aloud. This is a good sign. Nolt is counting numbers in his head. Samir spoke for the first time in a long time. Chiron. Allow me a question not on the substance. Of course. Why are you, an 18-year-old diplomat from a monarchy that I have every reason not to like, telling me things with which I agree internally? Samir looked at him. Is it because you are smart? Or because you are right? Chiron looked at him. I hope the latter. But even if it is the former, the result is the same. Samir nodded slowly. Darnaves stood up. I need time to think. The council must discuss this without the guest. Of course, Chiron said. Turned. Went to the door. At the very door he stopped. Turned around. One last point, he said. Sour is still in Avren. He will come again. Offer something, money, trade privileges, peace, and quiet. It is a good offer. Short. Looked at all 7. The choice between a good short thing and a right long thing is the hardest choice. I am not asking you to make it quickly. I am asking you to make it honestly. Left. The corridor outside. Bowen by the wall. Lin by the window. Chiron approached. How? Lin quietly. I do not know yet. Sat on the bench by the wall. 3 are definitely thinking. 2 against. 2 unknown. A majority needs 5 out of 7. I know. They sat. Waited. 20 minutes later the door of the hall opened. Not a member of the council came out. Sour. Looked at Chiron without surprise. Knew he was here. Approached. Stopped 3 meters away. Bowen imperceptibly moved 1 step closer. Young diplomat, Sour said in Iranian. You are persistent. It is the job, Chiron said. The mountain pass. My people did not delay you. No. Skillfully. Luck. Sour looked at him. You understand what you are doing, he said. You are trying to create a coalition against an empire that has 10 times more resources. This is suicide for Aaron. Possibly, Chiron said. But the alternative is slow absorption. The difference is only in speed. If Aaron makes an agreement with Valgar, it will preserve autonomy. Flag, language, traditions. Only the army and foreign policy will be ours. That is not autonomy, Chiron said. That is another name for a protectorate. Sour was silent for a second. You are a smart boy, he said. Smarter than you should be at your age. Something in his tone changed. Became less official. Listen to me outside our roles. Just as one person to another. Chiron waited. Valgar will not stop because of a treaty with the Confederation. We will go around it. Buy time. Find a weakness. Sour spoke quietly. The only thing that stops Valgar is when going farther is less profitable than standing still. The Confederation is not enough. Tezsar is needed too. And Drac. All together, possibly. One by one, no. Chiron listened. Why are you telling me this, he said quietly. Because I am tired of wars, Sour said. Evenly. Without sentimentality. I have served Valgar for 30 years. I have seen what happens to territories we take. Stopped. I am not a traitor. I carry out my assignment. But sometimes I tell the truth. To those who can use it. Why? Because if the right coalition stops Valgar, it is better for everyone. Including ordinary Valgorians, who also do not want endless wars. Silence. Chiron looked at him. Bluff? Possibly. To confuse him. To instill false confidence. But too detailed. Too specific. A bluff does not need to be made that complicated. Or the truth. A tired man who had seen too much. Jahan had met such people. In Korea. In Geneva. They exist in every system. Tezsar and Drac, Chiron said. You have information about their position. Tezsar is already partially yours. Malin decided something after your negotiations. Sour smiled crookedly. You know about that. Drac. Drac has been fighting Valgar for 7 years. Quietly. On the border. Small skirmishes that are not called war. Sour looked straight at him. Their new war chief, Karen Dost. Young. Aggressive. Looking for allies. Only he does not know how to ask, he knows how to demand. And how to speak with him. Not like a diplomat, Sour said. Like a warrior. They respect directness and strength. Words without actions are nothing to the Drac. You need to do something, not just say something. The door of the hall opened. One of the members of the council, the young, nervous one, looked out. Guest Chiron. The council is ready. Sour stepped aside. Chiron stood up. Looked at Sour for a second. If you lied, This is a bad investment, he said quietly. If I lied, you still lose nothing. You will verify the information yourself, Sauer answered. Go. They are waiting for you. Chiron entered the hall again. 7 faces. Something had changed during the time he waited outside. The atmosphere was different. More alive. So they had argued. Samir spoke, the council has discussed your proposal. There are questions before the decision. I am listening. Note first, a treaty of mutual defense, how does it work practically? If Valgar attacks Eren, do we send an army? You consult with Eren. Jointly decide what measures are sufficient. It can be an army. It can be economic pressure. It can be a public statement that changes the reputational cost of an attack for Valgar. Chiron spoke without hesitation. The form of the response is flexible. The obligation to respond is firm. That is vague, Darnavest said. That is flexible, Chiron corrected. Vague is when there is no obligation. Here there is an obligation. The instrument of its fulfillment is simply chosen according to the situation. The woman with the straight back, whose name Chiron had managed to learn from Lin, Soravel, representative of the port city Essie, if we sign such a treaty, Valgar will perceive it as a hostile act. Yes, Chiron said. You confirm the risk. Hiding risks is not my policy. Chiron looked at her. There is a risk. But Valgar already perceives the Confederation as a potential target. This follows from their movement north. Signing the treaty will accelerate their calculation but will not change the direction. Soravel thought. The elderly man with interest, whose name was Renzo Kite, the oldest in the council, 80 years old, spoke, young man. I have heard many diplomats in my life. His voice quiet but clear. Most of them told the truth only when it was profitable for them. You have several times said an inconvenient truth without obvious benefit. Kite looked at him. Where does that come from at 18 years old? From experience that I should not have at 18, Chiron said. Something in Kite's eyes. Did not understand completely. But accepted. I support the beginning of negotiations on the treaty, Kite said. Silence. It was an important moment. The eldest in the council spoke first. Samir evenly, vote. The beginning of official negotiations on a treaty of mutual security with the Kingdom of Eren. Who is in favor? Renzo Kite raised his hand. Samir Dos raised his. The young nervous one raised his. Quickly. As if afraid to change his mind. 3. Nolt delayed. Thought. Raised. 4. Soravel looked at the table. Then raised. 5. 5 out of 7. Enough. Darnavest did not raise his. Looked aside. Face stone. The 7th also did not raise his. Remained silent. Samir announced, 5 votes in favor. The council decides to begin official negotiations. Chiron stood. Not a victory. The beginning of negotiations is not a treaty. There is still much ahead. But the door is open. A door that had been closed to everyone before him. He did not bow, here it is a sign of submission. Simply nodded. Respectfully. Evenly. I thank the council, he said. I am ready for any convenient format of the next meeting. Left the hall. Bowen stood by the wall. Lin by the window. Watching. Chiron walked past. Briefly, 5-2. Lin exhaled. Once. Controlled. Bowen nothing. Only followed. They went out into the street. Of Ren. Noon. The sun cold but there. Chiron stopped on the steps. Looked at the square. People. Alive. Talking, laughing, arguing about something. They do not know that just now in the hall behind them something changed. Maybe. Maybe. What next? Bowen said. For the first time in a long while he spoke on his own. Eren, Chiron said. Report to Ren. Then Tessar. Consolidate what we started. Stopped. And Drac. Lin. You were not planning to go there. Sour said something important. Sour is a Valgorian. Yes. But the information is verifiable. And logically correct. Chiron walked across the square. Drac has been fighting Valgor for 7 years quietly. They are already against them. They need a format. Stopped by the fountain. Looked at the water. The Confederation, Tessar, Drac, Aaron together, that is a signal even Valgor will not ignore. That will take years, Lin said. Yes. Are you ready for that? Chiron looked at the water. Jahan inside thought. 13 missions. Not one ended quickly. The fastest, 3 months. The longest, 2 years. Here it is a different scale. A different world. But the same principles. People are the same everywhere. They want safety, dignity, the possibility to live by their own rules. Valgor takes that away. So the work is clear. Ready, he said. Lin looked at him. You are 18 years old. You have already said that. No, this is the first time, Lin said. Just thinking aloud. What are you thinking about? That in 10 years Malin will turn out to be right, she said. And went to the horses. Bowen after her. Chiron stayed by the fountain for a second. Malin had said, in 10 years you will be a dangerous man. Chiron had answered then, I will try. Now he thought differently. Not dangerous. Needed. Needed enough for the world to become a slightly less cruel place. At least on this specific piece of the map. At least for now. Stood up. Went to the horses. The road home, 8 days. Then on the road again. The work does not end. It is only beginning. The capital greeted them with rain. Cold. Autumn. The kind of rain that does not pour hard but soaks you through in half an hour. Chiron rode into Arkan through the western gates. Bowen and Lin beside him. Something was wrong from the first minutes. Not visible, felt. The guards at the gate looked differently. Not hostile, cautious. The way they look when they know something and do not say it. Bowen, quietly. I see, he answered. They rode through the market. Turned toward the palace quarter. At the palace gates 2 guardsmen. Familiar. Usually nodded. Today looked straight ahead. A bad sign. Got down from the horse. Handed over the reins. Inside, a servant. Young. Frightened. Mr. Chiron. Advisor Ren asked you to come immediately. I am coming. Turned to Lin. Wait here. Lin nodded. Understood. Ren stood by the window. Did not sit, stood. Hands behind his back. Looked into the courtyard. When Chiron entered, he turned around. Face tired. More than usual. Close the door. Closed. 5-2, Chiron said. The Confederation agreed to negotiations. I know. Received your letter. Then what is the problem? Ren sat down. Was silent for a long time. While you were writing back, Carvin filed a complaint to the king. Chiron waited. Exceeding authority, Ren said. You conducted negotiations without an official order from the head of the delegation. You revealed your real name and position to Samir Dose, violating the incognito condition. You entered into unauthorized contact with a Valgorian agent. Sour approached himself. Does not matter. Ren looked at him. Carvin found 3 lords who signed the complaint together with him. For signatures is a formal accusation that the king is obliged to consider. Silence. What does that mean practically? Chiron said. A hearing. In 3 days. Before the small council. Ren spoke evenly. If they decide you are guilty, removal from office. In the worst case, formal punishment. What punishment for exceeding a diplomat's authority? A fine. A ban on holding diplomatic positions for up to 5 years. Chiron stood. 5 years. While Valgor acts. While the coalition is only being built. 5 years is death for what they had only begun. Who in the small council will support Carvin? He asked. 3 out of 6 for certain. 1 neutral. 1 likely against Carvin. 1 unknown. Ren looked at him. 3 to 1 at best. If the neutral and the unknown stand for you. If not, the decision is against you. You can intervene. I have already intervened, Ren said. Wrote a separate opinion to the king. The results of the Confederation are an obvious argument in your favor. But politics is more complicated than results. Carvin has been at court a long time. His allies too. So, a hearing. Yes. Chiron sat. Thought. This is another kind of negotiation. Not external. Internal. Harder. In external ones, you have something the other side wants. Here you yourself are in question. Carvin is smart. Not brilliant, but smart in the courtly sense. Knows how to gather allies. Knows whom to promise what. What does he really want? Not to punish. Carvin is not malicious. He is frightened. A young diplomat who does in 3 weeks what an old one has not done in years is a threat. Not personal. Systemic. Carvin wants the system to remain as it was. Where experience and origin matter more than talent. So do not fight Carvin. Give him something he wants. Not at the cost of anything important. Ren, Chiron said. Carvin wants public recognition that he is the head of the delegation and that everything achieved was achieved under his leadership. That will be a lie. Partial, Chiron said. He was the head of the delegation. Formally, that is true. I was an advisor. Stopped. If I publicly say that I acted in the spirit of his instructions, that will remove most of the accusation. Exceeding authority requires proof that I acted against the will of the head of the delegation. If the head of the delegation withdraws the accusation, Carvin will not withdraw it, Ren said. Already signed. To withdraw means to lose face before the 3 lords who signed with him. Then another way. Chiron stood up. Who is the unknown in the small council? Lord Saren. A border lord. Direct border with Valgar. His lands. He knows what is happening on the border. Better than anyone. So he knows that success with the Confederation is important personally for him. His lands are the first under threat if Eren does not find allies. Chiron looked at Ren. I need a conversation with Saren. Before the hearing. That is pressure on a council member. That is informing, Chiron said. I will tell him what I saw in of Ren. What Sour said. What is really happening. He will draw his own conclusions. Ren thought. Saren does not like young people, he said. No one likes them. I am used to it. Long silence. Good, Ren said. But carefully. If Carvin finds out that you are working with the council before the hearing, that will add an accusation. Carvin will not find out, Chiron said. It is a quiet conversation. Nothing more. Stood up. Went to the door. Chiron, Ren stopped him. He turned around. You understand that Carvin is a symptom. Not the cause. Yes. Court politics will always interfere with you. As long as you do what you do, there will be people for whom it is unprofitable. Ren looked at him. Ready for that? I grew up the son of a maid in a lord's house, Chiron said. People have interfered with me since birth. This is not new. Ren nodded. Slowly. Chiron left. Saren lived not in the palace but in a townhouse. Old. Stone. Without decorations outside. Inside also simple. Hunting trophies on the walls. Maps. Many maps. Saren himself, 62 years old. Large, heavy-set. Weather-beaten face. Looked at Chiron without greeting. I know why you came, he said. Sit. He sat. Ren warned you. No. Guessed myself. Saren poured himself wine. Did not offer Chiron any. A young diplomat before a hearing looks for votes. Logical. I did not come for a vote, Chiron said. Saren looked at him. No. No. I came to tell what I saw. You will make any decision you consider right. Long silence. Speak. Chiron told him. Everything. Without embellishment. The Valgorian observer at the negotiations with Tezsar. The ambush at the mountain pass. Saurin of Ren and what he said about the 3 states that are needed together. Saren listened. Did not interrupt. When Chiron finished, he was silent for a long time. Stood up. Went to the largest map. Poked a finger at the northern border of his lands. 3 months ago. A Valgorian patrol. Entered my territory by 2 kilometers. Killed 2 shepherds. When I sent a complaint, I received an answer that the patrol had lost its way. Voice stone. Lost its way. 2 kilometers. Experienced soldiers. Testing the reaction, Chiron said. Yes. I wrote to the king. The king wrote to Valgar. Valgar apologized. Saren turned around. Politely. And a month later another patrol. 3 kilometers. They will continue until they meet real resistance. I know. Saren looked at him. Carvin says you exceeded your authority. That you acted on your own. Technically yes, Chiron said. In the spirit of the task, no. Ren gave complete freedom of action. Carvin was incapacitated. The negotiations could not be interrupted. And you managed. 5-2. Saren set down the mug. I do not like young people who think they are smarter than the old, he said. I do not think I am smarter, Chiron said. I think I have different knowledge. Not better, different. Useful in a specific situation. Saren looked for a long time. You are a diplomat even here, he said. In a conversation with me. Always, Chiron agreed. It is not a mask. It is a way of thinking. Saren sat down. Heavily. Like a man with bad knees. What do you need from Drac? He said suddenly. Chiron did not answer immediately. How do you know about Drac? Sauer spoke not only with the Council of the Confederation. He spoke with merchants in Ren. One of them is my men. Saren looked straight. Sauer said that the young Iranian diplomat is going to Drac. Is that true? There is an intention. Karen Das does not talk. He tests. I know. From where? Sauer said something. I read about their traditions. And understood the type of person. Karen Dost killed Tesser's ambassador 3 years ago. Did not order him killed, personally. In a test that the ambassador did not pass. Saren spoke without emotion. The Tessarians swallowed it because they need trade routes through the mountains. What kind of test? I do not know the details. But the Drac have a tradition. One who wants to speak with the war chief as an equal must prove he is worthy of the conversation. Not with words. With a deed. Chiron thought. What counts as a deed? Different things. Depends on the chief. Karen Dost is a fighter. So most likely physical. I am not a fighter. No, Saren agreed. You are not a fighter. Stopped. But you can think quickly under pressure. That is visible. Stood again. I will tell you something Ren does not know. I have a man in Drac. A merchant. Has worked there a long time. If you go, I will give you a contact. He will help you understand what exactly will be demanded of you. Why are you helping me? Saren looked at the map. Because my shepherds are dead, he said simply. And because in a year there will be more such cases if nothing changes. Silence. At the hearing, Chiron said. At the hearing I will say what I think, Saren interrupted. Not what you want to hear. Looked at him. If your actions were right, it will be visible. If not, too. That is honest, Chiron said. Stood up. Bowed briefly in the Iranian way, according to the old ritual that many young people no longer knew. Saren noticed. Something in his face changed. Where did you learn the old bow? In Count Morin's library. A book on court etiquette of Aaron. 300 years old. My grandfather bowed that way. Saren spoke quietly. Go. 3 days until the hearing. Rest. Chiron left. Outside, the rain had stopped. The small council. Hall. 6 lords at a long table. Ren to the side. Observer. Carven opposite Chiron. Sat straight. Smug. 3 allies beside him looked similar. Saren at the end of the table. Face impenetrable. Chairman Lord Vane. 70 years old. Formalist. Love procedure. Hearing on the complaint of Lord Carven against diplomatic advisor Chiron. Charges: exceeding authority, violation of the conditions of incognito, unauthorized contact with a foreign agent. Vane read monotonously. Lord Carven. Present it. Carven stood up. Spoke confidently. Had prepared. Speech rehearsed. Facts correct, interpretation distorted. Listen. Do not interrupt. Let him finish. Carven spoke for 10 minutes. Chiron stood. Listened. Memorized every point. Point 1. Conducted negotiations independently. Factually correct. Incorrect by context, Carven was incapacitated. Point 2. Revealed identity. Correct. But Samir had understood anyway. The revelation was a strategic decision. Point 3. Contact with Sauer. Correct. But Sauer approached himself. And information was received. Carven finished. Vane to Chiron, will you answer the charges? Chiron stood up. Did not hurry. Swept his gaze over all 6. Slowly. 3 against had already decided. 1 neutral, Loren, fat, bored. Saren at the end. 6th, Veso. Young lord, 30 years old. Looked with interest. All 3 charges are factually true, Chiron said. Silence. Carven did not expect it. I conducted negotiations without a direct order from Lord Carven. I revealed my identity to Samir Dose. I spoke with Sauer. Chiron spoke evenly. Now the context of each. Explained. Methodically. Without apologies, with arguments. Carven was incapacitated. The negotiations could not be interrupted, Malin would have left for Valgar. This is not theory, this is a calculation that was confirmed. Samir Dose is an experienced man. The legend would have been exposed in a day or 2. Early admission gave trust. It brought 5 votes out of 7. Sauer, the information from him is verifiable. And strategically important. In diplomacy there is a rule, Chiron said at the end. Authority is the frame. The goal is the content. When the frame interferes with the content, a good diplomat adapts the frame. A bad one clings to the frame and loses everything. Carven stood up. This is an arbitrary interpretation of authority. If every advisor decides when the frames matter, Lord Carven, Chiron interrupted calmly. With respect. The result of the negotiations with the Confederation is the first in 20 years. That is a fact. Not my assessment, history. Stopped. I ask the small council to answer one question. Not whether advisor Chiron violated formal protocol. Another one. Did Aaron become safer as a result of his actions? Silence in the hall. Vane formally, the council discusses the charges. Not the results. Charges exist to protect the interests of the state, Chiron said. If an action protected the state, the charge loses meaning. Turn to Vane. This is an opinion. The council is free to disagree. Sat down. Silence. Vane was silent for a long time. The council takes a break for 1 hour. Corridor. Ren approached. You spoke well. I do not know yet. Saren listened attentively. I saw. Loren fell asleep halfway through. That is normal, Chiron said. If a person falls asleep, it means he is not an enemy. Enemies do not sleep at hearings. Ren almost smiled. An hour later they returned to the hall. Vane read the decision. The small council has reviewed the charges and accepted the following. On the first point, exceeding authority. The situation is recognized as non-standard. The actions of Advisor Kyren are recognized as corresponding to the spirit of the assignment received while violating formal procedures. Sanction, official warning. On the second point, revealing identity. Recognized as strategically justified. No sanction is assigned. On the third point, contact with a foreign agent. Recognized as forced and informationally valuable. No sanction is assigned. Quiet. In total, Vane continued. Advisor Kyren receives an official warning for violation of formal procedures. Position and authority are preserved. The hearing is closed. Carvin did not raise his eyes. Saturday. His three allies exchanged glances. Saren stood up. First. Left without a word. At the door turned to Kyren. Barely noticeably nodded. That is enough. 3 weeks to prepare. Saren gave a contact, the merchant Ort. Had worked in Drac for 8 years. Knew the language, customs, people. They met in a port tavern on the outskirts of Arkan. Ort, 50 years old. Short. Broad. Hands like shovels. Spoke directly. You are going to Drac, fine. But listen carefully. Karen Das does not receive strangers right away. There is a right. It is called Dorhan. Ort spoke without extra words. Roughly translates as the right of voice. The one who wants to speak with the chief as an equal passes Dorhan. If he does not pass, he does not speak. Or leaves. Or it has been different. What is included in Dorhan? Depends on the chief. Karen Das determines it himself. Usually 3 trials. They can be physical. They can be tasks. Ort looked at Kyren. You are not a warrior. No. Then pray the first is not a fight. And if it is, then you will survive if you are lucky. Lose if you are not lucky. Die if you are very unlucky. Ort said this without cruelty, just fact. The Drac do not kill intentionally in Dorhan. But accidents happen. Understood. What else? Never lie to them. That is the only thing they do not forgive. Everything else can be survived. A lie cannot. Ort poured himself beer. The Drac value directness above all. Even an enemy who tells the truth is a respected enemy. A friend who lies is worse than an enemy. Their attitude toward outsiders. Wary. Not malicious, wary. They are a closed people. For many centuries they lived in the mountains. Learned not to trust those who came from below. Ort thought. One important point. The Drac have no word for diplomat. They do not understand that role. A person who speaks instead of another is a servant. A servant is not listened to. How to introduce oneself then? Not as a diplomat. As a person who has something to say. Personally. From yourself. Ort looked. Do you understand the difference? Yes. One more thing. Karen Dost is young. 28 years old. Became chief 3 years ago. Killed the previous chief in a fair duel, that is their custom. Ort was silent for a moment. He is smart. Very smart. Not educated, smart. Different things. Do not underestimate him. I underestimate no one. Good. Ort stood up. When do you go? In a week. I will write a letter to one person in the mountain foothills. He will lead you to Dost's camp. Without him you will not find it. They are not on maps. Kyren nodded. Ort. Last thing. What do you know about Karen himself? Not politics, the men. What makes him this way? Ort thought. He lost his father in the war with Valgar. He was 14. His father was chief before him. Ort spoke more slowly. The Valgorians killed him not in battle. Caught him in a trap. Negotiations that turned out to be an ambush. Stopped. Do you understand what that means for him? Chiron understood. Negotiations killed his father. Yes. For him, negotiations are a word that means trap. Betrayal. Ort looked at Chiron. You are going to a man for whom your very existence reminds him of his father's death. That is the main problem. Not Dorhan. Silence. Thank you, Chiron said. Good luck, Ort said. And left. The border of Drak is not a line on a map. Mountains. They themselves are the border. Chiron rode with Bowen and Lin again. Plus the guide whom Ort had given. His name was Gorn. A silent mountaineer of about 40. Knew the paths. Day 1 in the mountains. Day 2. On the third, Gorn stopped. Ahead 4 Drak. Mounted. Dark clothing. Weapons not put away. Watching. Gorn shouted something in Drak. One of the 4 answered. Briefly. They know that you are coming, Gorn said. They will escort you. Good, Chiron said. Not good, Gorn said quietly. They say Karen Dost is waiting for you personally. He rarely meets people himself. Why now? I do not know. Gorn looked ahead. But when the chief meets personally, it is either a great honor or a great problem. More likely the second, Chiron thought. They rode after the Drak. The camp was not a village. Temporary. But large. Several hundred people. Tents, fires, horses. The smell of smoke, iron, leather. The Drak looked at the newcomers openly. Without hostility, with assessment. They do not hide curiosity. That is honest. In the center of the camp was a large tent. A man came out of the tent. Chiron looked. 28 years old. Tall. Lean. Dark hair short. Sharp face. Eyes dark, quick. Moved like a man who is never at rest. Karen Dost looked at Chiron. Silent. Chiron got down from the horse. Stood. Looked back. Do not bow. Bowing is a sign of submission. Here it is wrong. Do not smile. A smile among the Drak is for those close to them. A neutral face for a stranger. Dost spoke in Drak. Chiron answered in Drak with the correct mountain pronunciation as much as he could. Dost stopped for a second. Was not surprised but noted it. Answered faster. More complicated. Testing. Chiron held on. Understood half. Asked about one word honestly, without pretending that he understood. Dost nodded. Almost imperceptibly. Accepted honesty. Then said more slowly. In Iranian. With a strong accent but understandable, why have you come? To speak, Chiron said. Speaking is for merchants. No. For everyone. Words are weapons. Sometimes the best. Dost looked at him. You are a diplomat. I am a person who has something to say. A diplomat speaks another's words. I speak my own. Dost was silent for a second. Looked. Prove the right to speak, he said. Dorhan. 3 trials. Pass, I listen. Fail, you leave. Good, Chiron said. The first tomorrow morning, Dost said. Turned around. Went into the tent. Stopped at the entrance. Without turning around, you speak our language. Badly. But you speak. A pause that Chiron did not call a pause, simply silence. You are the first outsider who tried. Entered the tent. Morning. Cold. The mountain air sharp. The whole camp watched. This is public. As it should be. Dorhan is always public. Dost stood in the center of the open space. Beside him a Drak warrior. Young. Large. Looked at Chiron with professional indifference. Chiron looked at the warrior. Then at Dost. First trial. Dost spoke loudly. In Drak. Gorn translated quietly beside him. Fight. The first who falls or says stop loses. Chiron looked at the warrior. 25 years old. 90 kilograms. A fighter since childhood, visible by the way he stands. In a fair fight, no chance. But Dorhan does not require victory in a fight. It requires passing the trial. These are different things. Weapons. Chiron asked Dost. No. Hands. Rules. No killing, Dost said. Everything else is allowed. Chiron took off his jacket. Remained in his shirt. Bowen behind him quietly, I can instead of you. No, just as quietly. This is mine. They stood opposite each other. The warrior moved at once. Fast. Experienced. Chiron did not meet him. Dodged right. Let him pass by. The warrior expected resistance. Inertia. Half a step extra. Chiron behind his back. Did not strike. Simply ended up behind. The warrior turned around. Slightly surprised. Understood that he would not take the opponent head on. Will go around. Went again. Slower. More precise. Chiron moved away. Dodged. Did not hit, moved. The camp began to murmur. Not approvingly. Chiron is not hitting, is it cowardice or cunning? The warrior reached him. Right hand caught Chiron by the shoulder. Jerk. Now this is unpleasant. Pulled, Chiron did not fall immediately. Twisted out. Painful. But did not fall. Already on the ground on all fours, crawled away. Stood up. Shoulder burning. Joint in place, but unpleasant. The warrior came again. Chiron thought quickly. Running away longer is impossible, the camp will lose respect. Need a moment. The warrior is large. Center of gravity high. This is a weakness if using the low level. Count Morin taught fencing. Not hand-to-hand combat. But physics is the same. When the warrior reached again, Chiron did not move away. Stepped toward him. Inside. Close. The warrior did not expect it. The grip is calculated for distance. Up close inconvenient. Chiron lower. Wrapped around the legs. Not to lift, not his strength. But to push forward with a simultaneous trip. The warrior collapsed. Did not fall beautifully, heavily. On his side. The warrior jumped up quickly. But fell first. Everyone saw it. The camp silence. Then a hum. Not loud. But different. The warrior looked at Chiron. Then nodded briefly. Respectfully. This is important. The warrior accepted. Dost looked. Second trial, he said. Afternoon. Left. Gorn approached Chiron. You do not know how to fight. No. But you managed. Physics works the same for everyone, Chiron said. I did not defeat the warrior. I used the moment. Gorn looked at him strangely. In Drac, such people are called Dera, he said. What does that mean? Roughly, the one who sees what others do not look at. Chiron touched his shoulder. Lin, he called. Do you have anything for a bruise? Lin was already coming with a bag. Afternoon. Dost led Chiron to the edge of the camp. There was a corral. In the corral a horse. Not ordinary. Wild. Mountain breed. Small but powerful. Rushing around the corral. Unbroken. Second trial, Dost said. Sit on it. Hold on until it calms. Chiron looked at the horse. Breaking an untrained horse. This is truly dangerous. Easy to break your neck. He had learned riding. But broken horses. Not wild ones. Gorn quietly nearby, this can be refused. In Dorhan the second trial can be replaced. If you offer an alternative that the chief accepts. Alternative. Any other proof of skill or knowledge. But the chief decides whether to accept it or not. If he refuses, then you have not passed the second. Chiron looked at the horse. Then at Dost. May I have an alternative trial? Dost narrowed his eyes. You may. Speak. Chiron thought for a second. Your horse is wild. Unbroken. He spoke in Drac slowly. I will not be able to hold onto it physically. But I can do something else. What? Enter the corral. Without rope. Without whip. And after some time it will come to me by itself. The camp laughed. Quietly. Skeptically. Dost did not laugh. Looked. If it does not come, you fail the trial. Yes. Why offer something you are not sure of? I am sure, Chiron said. Just longer than on its back. Dost was silent. Then nodded. Go. Chiron took off his jacket. Entered the corral. The horse immediately to the other end. Pressed against the fence. Looked wildly. Frightened. Not angry, frightened. That is different. Chiron stood in the center of the corral. Did not look at the horse directly. Slightly to the side. With peripheral vision. A direct gaze is a predator sign for prey. Sideways is neutral. Stood. Did not move. The horse rushed around the perimeter. Chiron stood. 1 minute. 2. 5. The camp grew quiet. Watched. The horse began to slow down. Still nervous. But began to observe. Chiron slowly lowered himself. Sat on the ground. Smaller in height, less threat. The horse stopped. Watched. Chiron did not move. Just sat. Quietly began to speak. In Drac. It does not matter what, just words. Monotonously. Evenly. Without sharp sounds. The horse, ears. Turned. Listened. A step toward him. Cautious. Stopped. Chiron continued to speak. Did not change tone. Another step. Another. After 20 minutes the horse stood a meter from him. Sniffed the air. Chiron slowly raised his hand, palm up. The horse reached out. Touched with its nostrils. The camp was silent. Dost looked. Chiron slowly stood up. The horse did not run away. Stood beside him. Left the corral. Looked at Dost. It came, he said. Dost was silent for a long time. Where did you learn? Nowhere. Logic. The horse is frightened, not angry. Fear leaves if there is no threat. I did not threaten. That is not logic, Dost said. That is patience. Patience is part of logic. Dost looked at him. Something in that gaze changed. Not warmth, but something else. Like a man who was looking for one thing and found another and has not yet decided what to do with it. Third trial, Dost said. Tomorrow. At night Gorn came to the tent. Quietly. Cautious. Bad, he said immediately. Chiron sat up. Waited. The third trial. I learned from people in the camp. Gorn spoke quietly. When Karen Dost himself passed Dorhan, the third trial was this. They threw him into a pit. Deep. Without rope. He had to get out himself. How deep? 5 meters. Walls stone. Slippery. Gorn looked. If you do not get out, you sit there until you say I give up. Or until you get out. You can sit a long time. Dost sat 3 days. Got out. Gorn was silent for a moment. Those who did not get out sat up to a week. Then gave up. So this is a test of will, not physics. Both will and physics. Chiron lay back down. Looked at the ceiling of the tent. Gorn. What do you think yourself? Why does Dost do this personally with everyone? To understand who the person is. Truly. Gorn spoke slowly. The Drac believe that in a trial there is truth. Masks fall. What truth does he want to know about me? Gorn thought. I do not know specifically. But his father died in a trap at negotiations. He does not trust people who speak. Wants to see what is under the words. What is under my words? That is your question. Not mine. Gorn left. Chiron lay. What is under his words? Jaehan, former advisor of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A man who saw the world through the glass of conference halls and thought that was the world. Died in a taxi and ended up here. Why, he did not know. Probably never would. But here. In this body. With this knowledge. With this goal he had built for himself. Under the words, what? Conviction. That people should not die because someone strong decided to expand borders. That life is not a resource for politics. This is not a diplomatic position. This is personal. It is important for Dost. Not to hear, to see. So the pit will show. How you hold yourself when there is no audience. Fell asleep. Morning. The pit was away from the camp. Round. Stone. Chiron looked down. 5 meters. Gorn had not exaggerated. The walls were damp stone. Almost vertical. Dost stood beside him. Third trial, he said. Get out. How much time? As much as needed. Is someone watching? No. This is alone. Dost looked. When you get out, come. We will talk. Turned around. Left. Chiron looked at the pit. 5 meters. Stone. Without rope. What is there? Clothes. Belt. No knife, taken away before the trial. Head. Climbed down into the pit. Jumping from the edge, 5 meters down. Legs intact if landing correctly. Bend knees. Roll. Landed. Painful. But stood up. Looked up. 5 meters. Walls stone. Damp. But not perfectly smooth. There are protrusions. Small. Millimeter ones sometimes. Cannot climb with just hands. Need technique. Took off belt. Looked. Belt about 1.5 meters. Too little. What else? Shirt. Pants. Jacket. If tied, enough. No. Nowhere to hook at the top. Pit open, edges smooth. So not a rope. Something else. Looked at the walls. Protrusions. Small. But there are. If drive something in, at least fingers will go into cracks, can crawl. What can be driven in? Belt buckle metal. Sharp at one end. Hit the buckle into a crack between stones. Once. Again. Again. The crack widened a little. Enough for fingers. Good. This is the way. Began. Slowly. Found the first crack. Fingers into stone. Foot looks for support. Small protrusion. Stood. Second crack. Higher. Buckle again. 1 hour. 2. Did not look at time, nowhere to look. Fingers bleeding. Nails broken on 2. Arm muscles burning. At 3 meters slipped. Fall down. Same roll. Stood up. Painful. Again. Began again. In Korea there was a similar situation. Not physically, but similar. Negotiations that had reached a dead end. 3 weeks. Everyone said impossible. Jaehan did not leave. Came back every day. Not because he was an optimist. Because the alternative was no. Here the alternative is also no. Either get out. Or give up. To give up means to lose everything he came to do. Up again. Slower. More precise. Checked every movement twice before shifting weight. 4 meters. Arms almost do not feel. 4.5. The edge visible. Almost able to reach by hand. Last effort. Hand on the edge. Stone cuts palm. Second hand. Pulled himself up. Rolled over the edge. Lay on the ground. Breathed. Looked at the sky. Gray. Mountain. Cold. A good sky. Stood up. Slowly. Hands in blood. One knee hurts badly. But stood. Went to the camp. Dost sat by the fire. Saw Chiron. Looked at the hands. Said nothing about the hands. How much time? Only asked. I do not know, Chiron said. Long. 4 hours. Dost looked. Fell. Once. And went again. Yes. Silence. Why did you not give up? Dost asked. Because there is something to get out for, Chiron said. Simply. What for? To speak with you. Dost looked for a long time. Something alive in that gaze. Under the stone with which he usually held his face. Dorhan is past, Dost said. Sit. Speak. Chiron sat by the fire. Lin appeared from behind the tent. How she had ended up so close Chiron did not ask, with clean cloth and something for his hands. Bandaged him while he spoke. Chiron spoke. Not about the treaty at once. About Valgar. About what he had seen. About Saren's 2 dead shepherds. About Sour, who said Valgar would not stop. Dost listened. Did not interrupt. Your father, Chiron said. He was killed at negotiations that were a trap. Dost froze.